Welcome to Between Two Coaches, a digital mentors podcast for coaches, consultants, authors, speakers, and experts. I am your host, Norbert Orlewicz, and in each episode, we have a conversation with successful and emerging thought leaders in the mentoring industry to share their experiences, insights, and practical strategies so that we can all make a bigger impact with our work. This podcast is sponsored by our Digital Mentors Compass workshop. Unfortunately, most coaches do struggle to enroll enough clients consistently, and it's not because they're bad at coaching, but it's simply because they lack the clarity and the simplicity in their branding and marketing strategy. That's why we created the Digital Mentors Compass experience. It is a step-by-step workshop where you will clarify your marketing message and receive an AI-powered marketing report personalized for your specific business and goals. It's an interactive workshop where you will walk away with a personalized roadmap to finally achieve your goals with a simple plan that you can actually follow. Register today to attend the next workshop for free at compassworkshop.com. Again, that is compassworkshop.com. All right, today's guest is Susan Lancaster McGraby, and we have known each other for quite a few years. In fact, we've cruised together even. Uh,
We have.
Susan is a British educator. She is a world traveler, a cyclist, a digital entrepreneur, and the host of her podcast, The Online Entrepreneur Academy, with over 100 episodes under her belt. Susan has a heart for helping fellow educators, coaches, and entrepreneurs take those first important steps into the world of content marketing and social media. And she empowers them to turn their skills into thriving businesses, helping them to attract clients and businesses through simple content strategies. Susan, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me on the show, Norbert. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is awesome. It's really great to have you here. And you get to be on the other side because you do a lot of the interviewing as a host of a podcast. You
Yeah.
get to be the guest in this one. So you can kind of relax and I'll lead the way here today.
I don't know about that. It's quite interesting to be on the other side. So I appreciate the experience as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's kick this off. I always like to start with some kind of a little thought-provoking question
Mm,
to get the conversation started. So I'll start with
sure.
this one for you, Susan. Coaching, I believe, is all about transformation. So share with us a life-changing, impactful transformation from your life, and how did it change you and perhaps even your approach to coaching?
Sure. Yes. Well, asking me that immediately comes to mind many years ago, back in the last century, which will date me. Um, I asked my then employer if I could learn how to send an email. And they said to me, "Why would you want to do that?" So, yeah, unbelievable, actually. Our younger listeners won't know there was a time before emails, but yeah. So I've always been curious and wanted to keep up to date or learn new things. And so that was, I don't know if it was life changing, but it was definitely, oh my goodness, I really need to learn new things and be ahead of the field and understand what's going on.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting element, I would say, kind of in the education space. And
Mm,
you got the experience as an educator working in the UK, but I know with our conversations, it's very similar to here in Canada and America
yeah.
and most Western countries. But it definitely seems like the education system kind of trails behind advancements in technology and in the future. It kind of seems like the education system is like 20, 30 years behind what's actually happening. And it's funny that you bring
Yeah.
this up about email because I'm sure that there's the same kind of challenges right now, like around AI, because here's a new
Oh,
technology. And I'm sure educators in the field are like, why would you bother with AI? You know?
absolutely. And just very recently, because as you know, I still am working at what one calls the day job. I still work in college. And just this last 12 months, I said to a colleague, "Aren't you using AI?" Because they were talking about working all weekend. Oh, no, 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 I don't want to do that. And not to blame the people, but it's just not shared. So you're so right. We maybe not 20 years now. I hope not, because
Well,
probably
I
still
don't
be learning
know. I
about
think we could
emails.
debate about that because, but what do you think it is about the culture of educators, where they're kind of they're so resistant to the new and the latest technologies and really just figuring out how to use them as a tool? Because just like with an iPhone or
Yeah.
with email, it would be ridiculous to not use these tools that help us be more efficient, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think sometimes it comes from the top, and in the sense that so many new things are thrown into education systems. I say new, but they're not necessarily the best, because in this example, the institution had got an AI program. They bought it. It was so clunky, so ridiculous. And I just said, I'm going to use my own personal AI. So I think sometimes there's a rush to introduce technology, and it's not the one that's right for that particular situation. It's not to say bad, but it's just not right. I was a school governor here in the UK, which means you get to see behind the scenes and help out. And every single classroom had a different whiteboard, interactive board. So an educator traveling around those different classrooms had to learn a different system. You might say, oh, well, they're basically all the same, but they're not. You know, imagine you're rushing from one office to another and having to give a presentation, and everything's different. So I think that's part of it. So the heart's in the right place, but the execution is, ugh,
Yeah, and that's really
crappy.
where you kinda come in and you help out, because 'cause you've been in this space for quite a few years. You've been learning as a good educator. You're learning, you're a student, and you're
Yes.
interested in online marketing. What got you interested as an educator? What got you interested in the online marketing space, in the digital marketing space, and the opportunities here that we have?
Sure. I think there's a number of factors there. As I think you said, and you know, I've worked in many different countries, and I was working in United Arab Emirates at a time when you said if you're going to Dubai, people said, "Where's that? Why are you going?" So I think I like to be at the front of things if I can. So I've been working in the UAE, and that was a marvelous experience with the technology and so many other experiences. So to answer your question, how did I get into it? I was very up to date with the technology at the time. They just introduced Zoom meetings. Nobody else had heard of Zoom. So I was very lucky there. And then moving back to the UK, or what am I going to do? And so I thought, let's branch out a bit. I had my teaching skills, as you say, constantly updating them. So I sort of put them together and came back to the UK and found that I knew an awful lot more than people did in the UK, generally speaking, at that time. And I'm not saying I'm an expert, I was just au fait with things that we could use.
Yeah. And so how well, tell me a little bit about this journey for you, because I think a
Mm,
lot of people, a lot of educators, a lot of new coaches
yeah,
are a little intimidated by the online marketing space. It seems a little
yeah,
overwhelming, a little confusing. There's a lot to learn. Social media is very intimidating. I
yeah,
can imagine a
true.
lot of educators, like a lot of coaches, are
Mm,
heart centered. They're caring people. They care for their students, their
yes,
clients. A lot of them might be actually even introverted, just like myself,
yes,
right? And so we're kind of intimidated by social media. And so the idea of
yeah,
an educator coming online and promoting
yeah,
themselves on social media, it's like, what do I
yeah,
do? Where do I start? What do you see as some of the big challenges, maybe even the mental roadblocks that are
sure.
preventing educators from taking advantage of the opportunities online?
Yes, that's a really good question. I think a lot of it is obviously security. And to be honest, when you're an educator and you're in a school system, you don't want to be found necessarily on, excuse me, online by your students. But of course, there are ways around that using a different version of your name. So that's one thing, and I respect that. And then it's just like anything new, not understanding it. And this myth that you have to share your life. I mean, I put a lot of things on social media, but I actually don't put private things. I don't put family photos.
Yep.
But, you know, it's that skill, isn't it? It's just like when you're having a conversation with someone, you don't give them your life story. Well, I certainly don't anyway. Some people do. We've all been to that event where you hear someone's life story and you're trying to run away from them. But it's the same with social media. And I think we both agree you share some things and people get to know, like, and trust you, which is so important. But you don't share everything, and a lot does remain private. But your audience don't know that you're not sharing X, Y, and Z.
And
That's
actually, this makes me think a little bit of AI, because
mm,
AI actually gives you the opportunity to create a little bit of a privacy wall between you
true.
and the public on social media. I've seen you using AI to create social media images and
Yeah,
even images of yourself in different settings, right? So
yeah,
that's an interesting tool to create that level of privacy, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. that's very true. I recently went to Switzerland. I was seeing family members, didn't want to identify them with a photograph out of respect. So I did a little, so I put myself, we put the picture of ourselves, but we turned it into a cartoon. So I hope it was funny and interesting and made people laugh, but they're not seeing my relative sitting next to me. It's just a cartoon, but I was recognizable. I didn't disguise me too much. But
But
yeah, it's fun. It's funky as well.
yeah, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about marketing.
Yeah,
Because you really, just like myself, you try to simplify marketing for people
yeah.
because it can be an overwhelming and confusing place. What are some of the maybe misconceptions, mistakes, and challenges that you see a lot of entrepreneurs, coaches, and educators make
Mm.
when they approach marketing or promoting themselves? And how do we simplify it? Like, what are some of the simple things that we can focus on?
Yeah, well, perhaps I can give an example of my podcast, if that's okay as an
Yeah.
example, because as for anything, there are a lot of podcast courses out there. So I just wanted to keep it very simple. So what are the basics you need? A good microphone, a good platform, and a decent recording system. And you can spend hundreds and thousands, but coming back to the keep it simple. And then I listened to a few podcasts, and I won't mention names, but I listened to some really auspicious podcasts and I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm listening to 10 minutes of adverts. The sound quality is not very good. And, all credit to them, they've got the audience, but I thought I can do just as well. So um, I think the mistake is to think that it is tricky and it is difficult. I'm not saying don't be professional. Of course, we want to be professional, but as I've heard you say, Norbert, don't wait till everything is perfect. I'm not going to be employing a video editor. It's not what I can do at the moment. But yes, I've got simple ways to edit out a noisy car going past or something like that. So keep it simple. So to summarize, I suppose, keep it simple. Look what good people are doing, emulate it to a certain extent, but work within your own boundaries and timescale. I have friends saying they take, days to get a podcast episode out. No, I record. I do a little bit of editing if there's noise. I've taught myself how to do that in a very simple way. Descriptive, we can mention that. And out it goes. I taught myself Canva over the years. And again, when I started with Canva, I had the free version. I did just something very, very simple. And over the years, I've learned a few things. So don't rush. Keep it simple. I think we'll agree that's the best way, isn't it?
And tell me, what's been some of the biggest benefits that you've seen from doing the podcast? Because, I mean, you don't have a
Mm,
massive audience. You're not the next Mel Robbins or
no,
the next
I'm
Joe
not
Rogan,
yet.
right? You're not building a massive, that's not really the purpose of your podcast.
No,
But
no,
what
it's
have been
not.
some of the benefits that have come to you because of it, because you're
Oh,
doing it?
oh, amazing. Just talking to some incredible people. I'm quite cheeky. I just ask people. Um, and touch wood, I don't know if I'm tempting fate here, nobody's ever refused. And I've had some people who one would call big names, very successful in terms of income, let's put it that way, and others who are just starting out. And my objective was to make sure that I had people on so the listener could say, oh, that person's just a few months, a few steps ahead of me. I can get there. I can do that. It's possible. And of course, the very successful people in the eyes of the world as well. And so to answer the question, yeah, it's just been absolutely fantastic to meet these people of all different walks of life, magicians, um, rock stars, the whole shebang. People like yourselves, very successful in marketing. So it's a good way to have a conversation that you might not ever have otherwise.
Yeah, it really, I mean, I love the platform as well. And I'm really excited for the next couple of years of doing this podcast and some of the amazing people that we get to meet through this
Abs-
vehicle, right? And the
Yeah,
conversations. And then who knows the opportunities that can come your way through that as well, just through the
yeah.
connections that you're building, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And obviously it's the know, like, and trust. It does give one credibility to to have your own podcast. And yeah, so it's not just people don't get to know me just through the social media. Yes, like you, I'm focusing on the guests and they are the important part of the podcast, but they see my face, they get to know me. I really exist. I'm not going to run away. I'm findable, locatable, etc.
Yeah, awesome. Before we dive into like talking a little bit more about social media specifically,
Yeah.
I'd like to just speak to maybe some of the educators out there.
Mm.
and that might be considering, look, educators don't get paid that well. there's there's security, with the job. For now, at least. I mean, who knows where AI, how much that's going to change the educational system.
Yes.
Um, Maybe that's a good thing that the educational system stays behind technology for a while.
Yeah, could be said that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I know we've had these conversations. I think I'm an educator myself. I'm not a teacher, but I know that that is my gift. I'm a very good teacher
Yeah,
and educator, and I've been able to leverage that as a coach and
for
trainer
sure.
online. And so when I see educators, I'm like, "Oh my god, online business is like the perfect place for you because you get to
Yeah.
use your skills as a teacher and educator, and you can create digital courses, you can build communities, you can do
Mm,
live classes, live workshops, you can coach and charge a lot of money." Like, it just seems like such an opportunity for educators. And I completely think like they're missing the boat because they have no idea this entire billion-dollar industry that exists out here
yes.
if they could just learn a few key skills. So you can see how excited I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is it that you see for being an educator yourself? What is
Yeah.
it that you see about the online space and the opportunities the online space gives that you see most educators just don't see for themselves?
Yeah, I think it's really what you just said there is the opportunity, and not realizing it's a portal to the world. I mean, in the UK, a lot of people will think of the term time and when the exams are over, whatever country you're in, that's it. But it's not. Different countries. Australia's hotter on a different system. Students are going back to school now. So there's opportunities worldwide, which I think they're actually missing, and also the opportunity to start something small. If you're A lot of teachers, educators will be giving a couple of private lessons, but give that time to do a group session online. I know you can't do it just like that. I absolutely appreciate that, but I think they're missing the opportunity to try it. And it's not for everyone, but if you want to create that security, that backup, or just as quite a place of life, or here, I don't know about it's like in Canada, but if you want to take a holiday in in school holiday times, you're paying 2, 3
Oh
times.
God, yeah.
It's ridiculous. The day the school term finishes, up go the prices.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
there are lots of benefits. Sorry.
Yeah. And there's so many different ways for educators, people like us who have experience. We have
Mm,
experience,
mm,
we have knowledge, we have skills that we can teach other people. If you have
yeah.
that, then you can make money in this industry, right? And
Yes.
you've got a great little report, a PDF, and it's a really simple diagram. And I'd love for people to get access to that. We'll have a link
Yeah.
to it in the description. But I want to talk
Absolutely.
about it a little bit because
Okay.
you've put together 7 practical ways that teachers, educators, trainers
Yeah.
of all sorts
Yeah.
can monetize their skills. Okay. And I just want to walk through these 7 really quickly. So
Yeah. Sure.
number 1 is online teaching platforms. So there's
Hmm.
different tell us a little bit about these online teaching platforms and tutoring opportunities.
Yeah. Well, a lot of teachers, educators, and people with skills that they're sharing. They might be a yoga teacher, for
Yeah.
example. It doesn't have to be a traditional school system. They're thinking, I don't have time to do a whole course. Okay, so make a PDF, and there are many platforms where you can just pop that PDF in this example up on. You can just charge $1 or something. I mean, literally a small amount, but it's scale, isn't it? People will be searching for that, so you can put that on. That's the first dip in the water. And I've got friends who've put up a very simple, very low price. It's $2. £2 is not a barrier, and you almost don't worry if you're not going to get value. But of course, they will get value, and scale that up. That's a lot of extra pocket money, to say the
Yeah,
least.
you mentioned another one is creating educational resources. Like
Yeah,
teachers are experts at creating educational materials.
yeah,
So the fact that you can actually monetize lesson plans, worksheets,
yes,
teaching resources. I didn't even know this was available until we did some work together and we found some of these platforms. It's incredible.
yes, exactly. Yeah, 100%. And it's time saving. Someone can pull out that lesson plan and run with it. And I don't know about in other countries, but we have, I'm sure other countries do, we have regular inspections, and you've got to produce these dynamic, detailed lessons. I mean, in reality, nobody has time to do that every time. you've got your resources, and you know how to interpret them in the classroom, in the university, in the higher education colleges, whatever. But when you've got to pull out those detailed resources for an inspection, that's particularly useful. But just every day, just to go into a pool of resources. So yeah, 100%.
Another
If
one,
you want to market it.
yeah, another one you mentioned is freelancing. This is a world of opportunity because you can literally freelance any skill. You specifically mentioned freelance writing and content creation, but
Yeah.
talk a little bit about freelancing. What are some different things and different ways that teachers, educators, trainers can freelance to create a little side hustle, a little extra income and grow their business?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the obvious one, and the one that most educators will be comfortable with, traditional education in schools and colleges, would be giving private lessons. That's absolutely true. But also the like audiobooks. Some people in the classroom have, I'm not saying loud, but strong voices. You can join an audio book platform. I haven't done that myself, but I understand the process is you register, someone likes your voice, and you get to read a book, and you get paid for it. So that's just one example. So I think it's just what do I want to do? Just Google it, and ask people. But that's one really good example.
Or
Um,
or contact you and brainstorm some ideas with you.
yeah,
You've got
absolutely.
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm pretty good with ideas, to be honest. That's one thing that I'm pretty good at putting together.
And
Um,
and I think that's where coaching really comes
yeah,
into play because it's when we can get into a conversation with somebody that just has a little bit more awareness, a little more knowledge, and a little bit more experience of the online space like you do, but you can still speak the language of an educator. You know the challenges and the problems and the culture
I
that they're dealing with, and
agree.
then being able to just brainstorm some different ideas and strategies for them to be able to see, oh wow, I never realized that I could do that and make some money with it.
Absolutely, and it's just a little bit of thinking outside the box, and some of us are good at that. And also, I've got family who have been in education, and they'll be the first people to say we actually lost touch, a little bit of touch with the real world. We don't know what's going on, what people need, what the kids need these days. One colleague has gone into CV writing. She does professional CV writing for young people. Another colleague is helping, in this case again, young people find jobs and how to approach. Um, they just they would just send young people. Well, I think actually anybody generally applies for a job online, but the different ways to get people's attention. I could go on forever about this because it's 500 people apply for one job and you'll never get heard in the voice in your voice will never get heard, I mean to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And these are all the different, this is the thing about just identifying those unique skills that you have, those unique pieces of knowledge that you have that you can share with the world and monetize it. That's really how simple this whole business is. The
Yeah.
last one I want to bring up is digital courses and coaching. Talk to us a little
Mm.
bit about that because that's a huge market, maybe a little intimidating for some newbies, but how doable is it to create and launch and promote a digital course
Yeah.
and then self coaching on the back end?
Absolutely. Well, I would say to an educator coach, think of your teaching skills and how you present things in an interesting way. And find someone who's not necessarily in traditional education that we're talking about. You have still got skills, you've got knowledge. So, how would you like to receive that knowledge? Would you like to be sitting down to 2 hours, I'm raising my eyes here, 2 hours of boring lecture, basically? And the mistake I see a lot of people who should know better, honestly, online doing is just delivering what is in the end a lecture. If you invite someone to a Zoom meeting, have it interactive. We can go and watch YouTube, can't we, if we want to learn something without the interaction. I mean, Norbert, I love the fact that what you do is always interactive. People are going to ask questions. So to circle back to, I think, what your question was, you educators use your skills of keeping things short, sweet, have those little breaks. So in a classroom, you might be just sort of timed down for a couple of minutes. So keep things short, keep them simple. Maybe use Zoom as your platform, because then obviously you can have the Zoom rooms, you can record, obviously take care of your permissions and things like that. But keep it short and sweet. Do little nuggets. So you
Mm.
might have a 2 hour course, but have it broken down into small sections. Easier for you to record because if you feel you've made a mistake, you're not scrapping a whole load of stuff, and keep it interactive, interesting, and don't do things like set homework or anything like that.
Mm. Yeah.
Keep it. I don't believe in homework, so you're talking to the wrong person for homework if that's the case. But the follow-up work, keep it interesting and have feedback time. So keep it short, keep it sweet, and don't create the whole course before you know who your audience is. And a lot of interaction. That's the main thing, interaction.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of little pieces there to learn, a lot of
Yeah,
skills to develop as you go through the process, and that's where a coach like Susan can assist you through that process. But really, it's just like we learned how to use email, we learned how to use our iPhone, we learned how to use Zoom.
exactly.
These are all skills that are very learnable for anybody. Would you agree?
They absolutely are. And for people who are teaching in schools or colleges, they'll know this already. So it's just pulling it together in a different way. And I firmly believe it doesn't have to be fancy. It just needs to be honest information.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. I remember I was working with a client who teaches German, I believe, and we were sort of doing some market research, and we found this one educator who had a YouTube channel, obviously, and he'd been
Mm,
like putting up videos for almost 10 years. So he'd
wow.
actually built a really big following. But what was really interesting is we caught one video and it was an entire lesson. It was like one of the like basic levels of learning German.
Right.
It was like a 3-hour video. It was a
Oh my
3-hour
goodness.
video. It was his entire like lesson right there in the video. But check this out, Susan. This was really insightful. He had over 7 million views on this one video,
Wow. Interesting.
which
Power
was
of
a
YouTube.
yeah, which was a really big insight. It was like, oh wow, he just put up the whole lesson, the whole 3 hours. It was a basic lesson, like it wasn't advanced stuff
Yeah,
in the German
sure.
language, but he got a
Brilliant.
ton of views and a ton, and obviously that was one of the big ways that he's built his business. Just
Yeah.
just like you said, just honest education. Like there's no
Yeah.
fancy marketing there. He
No,
literally
just
just
what you need to know.
he just what he does. He just teaches and he just taught on video, put it on
Yeah.
YouTube. 7 million people had viewed that video. That's how simple it can
Yeah.
be.
Absolutely. And it also speaks to variety because I'm saying keep it short and sweet, but sometimes you need something of a different length.
Yeah.
So good. Different people need different things, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And different types of learners as well. Some like video, some like to read it. So think about that. We can put up an audio script very easily these days, can't we?
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's talk before we kind of wrap up here. Let's talk a little bit about social media because I think social media is the thing that really intimidates a lot of people, a lot of educators, a lot of
Yeah.
coaches, especially us that are a little bit more introverted. You already talked about, keeping your privacy, like you don't have to be public, you don't have to share your whole life on social media. But just share with us some tips that you've learned over the years about how to
Yeah.
keep social media simple and doable and accessible so
Yeah.
that we don't feel like we need to become some kind of influencer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the golden rule is to be consistent. And of course, as you know, Norbert, some people think that's sort of posting 10 times a day. Do you know there's actually someone here in the UK who still says post 10 times a day? Unbelievable. So on a sort of sidebar, whatever you hear from me today or someone else, check, what works for you, but that's not going to work for sure, is it?
Not, I mean, that would burn me out. I couldn't do that.
And it would interrupt. So let's say, consistency is absolutely one thing. So 2 or 3 times a week when you're starting out, don't go into long essays, long posts. So reassure yourself, short and sweet. I would encourage you, I think we would both encourage people to have their voice. AI is a great help, but don't just put it into AI and repeat it. It has to sound like you. So get a feel for things. And honestly, the best research, look at other people's in your area, look at what they're doing. What appeals to you? And is it the funky, humorous things? Is it, the very serious, in depth? Just find your voice. So keep it simple. I have to say this because so many people don't do it. Have a picture of you on your profile, whatever platform you're using. We don't want to see a flower or whatever. We want to see you and not, if I put my whole family up, that would be about 100 people, and then you can't spot who's who.
Yeah.
So I'm rattling off a lot of things here, but keep it simple. A simple photograph, headshot of you, your banner saying what you do, or just a nice picture of the background in the beginning, and keep your posts, I would say, short and sweet. And the magic, which I think, Norbert, you told me a few years ago, is before you start posting, just go and interact in other people's, go. It's like being in a room full. I say it's like when I'm teaching people, I say it's like going for coffee. You don't sort of jump in and spout something. You talk to other people, see how they're doing, and then you say, well, actually, I'd like to share this with you. You don't just walk in a room saying, blah, 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 blah. So treat social media like you would treat your best friends, and just be kind and nice. And some people say be controversial. I don't think that works. Just be yourself, your own voice.
I think that's the most important thing, is find your voice.
Yeah.
Find your voice, right? Be authentic to yourself. Because if you're trying to be somebody else, well, number one, you won't stay consistent with it. And
No.
number two, I think people will see through it as well if you're trying to pretend to be someone that you're
Yes.
not.
Yeah, and people might think I've gone into minusculia there, but I think that the main faults, people are not clear what they're doing, and the posts are wonderful, but they're too long. White space. If there's one thing that anybody remembers today, white space. And of course, we said you're not sharing your life, so don't think you are.
Right.
If you're going to,
White
sorry,
space in sense of like you're not writing an essay.
exactly. Forget this, all that English grammar and punctuation we learned, in the sense of it's not paragraphs. Yeah, 2 or 3 lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, break it up for the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Susan, this is really, really great conversation, very insightful. And I hope that it is inspiration and motivation for
Mm,
other educators, trainers, coaches out there who might not have considered, or who might be
yeah,
considering,
I
and
hope
just,
so.
and yeah, and I hope so too, are considering and just need a simple vehicle, a simple path to get from
Yeah.
where they are right now to start just getting some traction.
Mm.
And I think
Yeah,
honestly, the most important thing is just to understand that it's a process. It's a learning process. It's like going to
exactly.
college or university, right? Like you just have to commit to the education piece.
Yeah, exactly. And we're all lifelong learners. Whatever our route to, or whatever we're doing, we're learning stuff every day, and it's just another thing. And yeah, we learn as we go. We don't have to know how to program something before we need to do it, which we
Yeah.
don't need to.
Yeah.
Bad example there, but I think you know what I mean. We don't have to go to the highest levels. Just short, simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep repeating that.
Yeah, Susan. Okay, so Susan, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, who you serve, how you serve them, and share with us kind of like where can people connect with you, how can they access your podcast, all that kind of stuff if they want to get more information from you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, what I'm doing is helping educators, entrepreneurs get a really solid presence on social media. So people might have a very good business, but it's amazing how many people are not confident about social media and how to promote their business, or for their clients to find them that way. And for educators, as we've said all along, helping you if you want to get started doing, just maybe dipping your toe into something simple, like one group lesson a week or whatever. Contact me and I can help you get that social media presence up, and in other ways as well. My podcast is called the Online Entrepreneur Academy. It sounds sort of like I run an academy, but that's not the idea. It's to include all sorts of guests. So I have a whole range of guests, and it's on all the usual platforms, on Apple, on Buzzsprout, on Spotify, wherever you like to listen in, and have a look through the episodes and pick an episode that's interesting to you. It might be an author. That's another thing teachers can do. You can write a book. I mean, write a book, write a story. There's a story in everyone, whether it's fiction or non-fiction. Don't ignore that one. That's a really good one. So there's a lot of different episodes from a whole range of people from all over the world, um, from people who run charities in Africa to people who are very successful, and I would say multimillionaires, and you'll know the names. They're very and just ask people for help. Ask.
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation, Susan. Thank you so much for coming on and just sharing your insights and your experience as a coach and an educator in the online space. So again, like I said, we're going to leave links in the show notes and description so you can connect with Susan and also grab the great resources that she's got available for you.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be on here today, and also very insightful to see the other side. So I've learned a lot today as well, which is what it's all about. So thank you, Norbert. I appreciate it.
And remember, if you're a coach, consultant, trainer, or expert, and you're looking for clarity in your marketing and client acquisition strategy so you can enroll more clients consistently, then join us for that free workshop at compassworkshop.com. compassworkshop.com. Again, that's compassworkshop.com. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your network and your audiences, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our episodes. This has been a conversation between two coaches.